and the larger structure towards the back is the existing accessory structure, and the light blue is the proposed addition, which they are seeking the variance request for. The accessory structure is already about 70%, 70 to 72% over the allotted 50%, so a total of 120% of the floor area of the principal structure. And this 500 square foot addition would make it the 149, 150% total floor area. We have received several communications from surrounding property owners, 2 for information, and 1 who was strongly opposed to the expansion. Let's see. We feel that because the existing accessory structure is already fairly significantly larger than the primary structure, that this does not fit the circumstance of a unique circumstance or a hardship on the lot, so we are recommending denial of this. As you can see here, you can see the home in the picture on the left, and to the left of it is where the new addition would likely be able to be seen from the road, and the picture on the right you can see the existing accessory structure in the back. And the applicant is here should you have any more questions.
Anyone have questions for Stephanie?
I do, Stephanie. So explain the logic behind the fact that since it's already 70 to 72% over the required 50% max, that it doesn't pose any hardship. Can you just explain that again?
So the original structure, based on tax assessor data, was built in 1941.
Okay.
And from what we can tell, based on the tax assessor data and old aerial photography, is that the existing accessory structure was also built in that time. We could not find a permit on record for that.
Okay.
It could have been permitted years ago. We just don't have that. So the fact that it is over the allotment now, we can't really do anything about.
Okay.
But since they're coming to us and needing the building permit for this new addition is why we're recommending that. And the variance request is for the full amount that accessory structure would be over the 50%.
Okay, thank you.
And hear from the applicant?
So can you bring that, first of all.
Oh, sir, could you come up to the...
Okay. All right, so, if you look at the,
If you don't mind speaking into the mic so we
sorry.
can hear you. Sorry about that.
I walk over so I can see. So it's a warehouse. He just needs extra storage. He's got a bunch of houses that, some of them he's closing out and he wants to get his stuff out. He's got to have a place to store it. He already owns this property. And he just wants to expand it 20 feet. The building, that blue building you see on the left is, a store. Okay, it's a discount store. Yeah, Mike's Merchandise. The property toward the road is a car lot. The property across the road is a car lot. And the railroad's next to it, and the trees are all grown up, so you really can't see it. If you see it, it's when you're driving, you might catch a little glimpse, and I don't even think it comes out that far, because it's gonna be on the left-hand side of that left picture. I don't think if you see it, it's just gonna be a glimpse, and it's really not gonna be obtrusive. So,
But what is the structure used for? Just storage?
yeah, he's got a building there now that's made out of tin roof, 10 walls, and it's just storage. He needs extra storage.
And what is the proposed addition going to, what building material is it?
Same as
The same,
what's
it'll look
there.
the exact same, okay.
Any other questions? Anything else I need to say?
All right,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll open the meeting to the public. Seeing no one, I'll close the public portion. Okay. And open board discussion. Did I do that right? I've never had to do it. Okay. I don't see where any of the requirements for a variance are met. Can you explain the purpose of corridor redevelopment district as opposed to something else that would, like, I'm still new to the board, so can you explain the corridor, the CRDS? Would that give any leeway as opposed to a different?
No, that is specific zoning districts along corridors in a town
Okay.
that try and make it a little bit more suitable for various development. But the regulation that states the 50% on accessory structures is for all zoning districts.
I'm just trying to, since there's commercial surrounding the property, like, does that have any sort of significance in that whatsoever?
Not on a
Okay.
residential use lot.
I mean, I'm inclined to, this is already over what we would normally allow to begin with. I just don't really see the purpose in, I mean, I understand he needs it for additional storage, but it already appears to have taken up far more property than it should have ever under the zoning.
May I say something?
You've already closed the public
Yeah,
hearing.
we
I think
closed the
it's
public
up to you. If you choose to do that, I think
Sure.
I can't say something, well, it's not gonna bother anybody, nobody's ever gonna see it. I mean, the house that's up front is a little property, you know, so it's basically commercial already, and everything around it's commercial.
Thank you. We did have one communication though for someone who was opposed to it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what was the content of that opposition?
They just felt like it was a large portion already, that the building in the back was already fairly large, and they had recently cleared off a lot of trees. I'm not sure if it was in preparation for this, and they said that after they had cleared off those trees, they felt like it was more visible from there. I believe that they were across the railroad tracks in the neighborhood conservation district.
Would you mind if I kind of tagged on to what Stephanie is saying? You know, staff has no issue with the use, the owner, the request, those types of things. We're just focusing on the items that are required for the issuance of a variance, and she's presented those to you in her report, and I think the two of you that made a comment have picked up on the fact that, you know, a variance, if you look at those criteria, what is the hardship? You know, the hardship is supposed to be related to the land, not to, for instance, someone who wants to just expand something, wants to do more. There's limitations that are imposed. So the hardship that someone might think is there seems to be more related to what the owner wants to do as opposed to the land really constraining. In a variance, in a broad sense, what you try to do is if a property is deprived because it's unusual or has some hardship related to the land itself, that it can't be used for things that other surrounding properties are used, you give the variance to bring it up to a similar level, but not to grant them additional rights beyond what other properties are. So I think as staff has looked at this and pointed out in the report, I just want to reiterate, I would agree completely with what Stephanie said in our findings, that we find that it doesn't, unfortunately, meet the requirements for variance.
I am. I will make a motion to deny PL 2021-353, a variance of 99% to the total floor area permitted for an accessory structure. Second.
Rollins,
Yes.
Amy Sorrells,
Yes.
Kim White,
Yes. Do we need to get Drew back in here?
I don't know what you normally do after a vote like that. for the applicant's purposes, the application was denied, just to make sure that he's aware of that. And then if the property owner is interested in appealing this request, I'm sure they have a time period within which they can appeal this request, probably to circuit court or something of that nature.
Yeah, I'll read the statement again.
Oh, thank you.
For that. Let's see where it went. It says, any persons aggrieved by any decision of the board may within 15 days after such decision appeal to the circuit court having jurisdiction according to section 908.02 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Auburn, Alabama.
Done with item 1?
Can I ask one more question while they, is about, can we change, excuse me, can we change the zoning? Is that possible?
Not at this meeting, sir.
If you want to come by the office tomorrow, we can discuss what other options might be available.
All right, thank you.
All right, item 2, PL 2021-00451.
All right, good evening. This variance is a variance request for the front setback in a townhouse lot. Specifically, it's a variance of 5 feet to the minimum required 10-foot front yard setback for townhouses to allow a front yard setback of 5 feet. The subject property is located at 425 White Street in the Corridor Redevelopment District West, or CRDW zoning district. It's located at the on the southwest corner of the White Street and West Drake intersection. It's approximately a little over 1/3 of an acre and is the site of the former, the site of the currently vacant White Street Baptist Church. It's been vacant for about 3 years, as I understand. And you can see it's fairly close to downtown, being inside the CRDWs are aligned mostly along the MLK corridor, just immediately north. This is a copy of the site plan as provided by the applicant. The front setback is shown in the highlighted orange area immediately in front. They are proposing to build a 3-unit townhouse development, which is the kind of the maximum type of unit count they would be able to do based on the zoning district. The lot itself has changed over some time to include some property that they've ceded to, or they've deeded to the city on the north side along the Drake frontage, and it has created a little bit of an interesting lot layout for any future development based on dimensions. I gave you some comparisons in the staff report regarding the building footprints as they relate to similar products in the neighborhood. Here's a picture of the current property. This is looking west at the intersection. This is the opposite side of the lot looking east. The red line is the approximate boundary line on this lot. The blue dashed line represents the 10-foot required setback, and the yellow dashed line is the requested variance for 5 feet, basically splitting the difference between the two. Based on the site plan, the main structure itself will be 10 feet back. They want to include a covered awning over a covered porch over the front entrance, which will encroach into that 5-foot setback. The applicant has, and also real quick, for one correction to the staff report, I mentioned the access is proposed on an existing curb cut on White Street. That's incorrect. The existing curb cut that they're going to use is on Drake, and they're going to create a new one a little bit further back away from the intersection on White. We've been working with the applicant for some time to try to make sure that there was a site plan and a floor plan that would satisfy the requirements to meet townhomes as opposed to other products that are prohibited in this area. And so, if the board chooses to approve this request, staff recommends making this floor plan as presented part of the approval. I've received only one piece of feedback, or one piece of correspondence from adjoining properties or the public, and that is located at 422 White Street, across the street and just a little bit down in the NRD zoning district in the yellow there. And they were speaking in support of the applicant's request. Pending your questions for staff.
There's, there's a decent amount of area, or not huge, but between, because of the 10-foot right-of-way that additional that was deeded, there's a decent amount of room between,
Yeah, even where it starts, between that and the sidewalk,
That
you
and the
still have some
sidewalk.
grass area. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
I do have a question. So can you explain why they want to make sure that the site design itself or the floor plan becomes a part of this request?
So townhouse developments are allowed by right in this zoning district. The, as is, the city being sensitive to the presence of purpose-built student development, private dormitories are prohibited. And so you have the two extremes of use allowances for this lot. And so we've had to work with them to make sure that the product that they were intending to build was without a doubt in the, very squarely in the townhouse realm, and could not be, the city's not gonna be able to say who gets to rent or who gets to buy in any place inside the city. However, we can make sure that the products that are built satisfy specific markets as needed. In this case, the family.
So can you go back to the floor plans? Are these connected? Do they share a wall? Is that what I'm looking
They
at?
are, if you take a look on the image on the top, that's the lower level, and the image on the bottom is the upper level. And so the connected wall is right there where the mouse is scrolling on top of. Down at on the upper levels, there's actually a gap between the buildings, so there'll be a roof below, and there's a space between those two.
When I glanced at that, because I don't think this was in our packet, so. I
It was
wondered where
not.
the gap was, and then it was on one floor, but not on the other, so, okay, I understand now.
Any more questions for staff?
Could I ask a question and suggest something? If you are inclined to approve this, as Jay mentioned, one thing I was noticing that it is for a covered front porch, and I don't see dimensions on this plan. We know it's probably 5 feet because it's talking about 10-foot setback and going down 5, but we don't know what the width is. It might be good to know what that width is and limit it to the dimensions that are shown on the plan. So-
Which would be why we would approve conditional to the plans as submitted. Just so they couldn't put a giant front porch or
across the
extend
whole
for
front or
that.
something like that. Yeah, it's understood what it would be.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would like to speak?
Can I take this off while I'm talking? I'm vaccinated, so. My name is Mike Marr. I work for Precision Survey, and that's our name up there on the plat. We've been working with the applicant, both Mary Boyd and Michael Murray. One of the things that Jay said, they've been working pretty heavily with planning, trying to find a floor plan that fits. Originally, we only had the deeds to work with, and we had a two-way driveway in the back and no access out on Drake. But once they finally pulled the trigger and told us to survey it, we found out there was a lot less land than they thought there was based on deed. So coupled with the fact that there's less land than there was in the deed, and then on top of that, the land that was granted for the right-of-way, we ended up reconfiguring, or the architect reconfigured the floor plans, and we went to a single driveway, which is why you notice there's a single access coming out on Drake. Originally, we didn't want to do that, but we had to shrink the driveway down to a size to get something that fit on there. So I think that's the hardship for us is basically just the shape of the lot and the fact that some of the lot was taken for the use of public access for roadway, which leaves us for a very narrow lot to be able to build on. And I'm answering any questions you may have for me, and Thank you for your
So
time.
your one entrance is right there off of West Drake.
There's two entrances. There's one entrance that is new off of White Street.
Okay, so I saw that. I just was making sure.
So that's a one-way driveway.
Got it.
Two-way has to be at least 20 feet wide, I believe.
Okay.
The one-way was shrunk down to the one-way size just so that we could pull the house back as far as we possibly could. Any other questions?
If it helps for that conversation, we're speaking to the engineering department, the requirement that they would provide, that they would put on this development would be that the White Street entrance be entrance only and the Drake be exit only.
Yes. And everything Jay's been talking about being included on the plan, we're well aware of and fine by us. Okay?
Thank you. Open the public hearing if anyone wants to speak in support or in opposition of this variance request. Close the public hearing and open it up to the board for discussion and or a motion.
Reading the report, it looks like it actually meets the requirements.
Especially because they deeded the land to the city, so that otherwise this wouldn't even become before us. I certainly think we can condition on these front porches. Is it just because it's a covered front porch, or is it because the structure at all? Just the cover?
It's the covered
cover.
nature of the porch that
Covered
comes
nature
into
of
the
the porch,
setback.
okay.
But if it's attached to the house and not covered, it still counts, doesn't it?
If it's just if it's just a concrete pad in front of a front door, that does not count towards
But
the
what if it's an
setback.
actual porch, like wooden porch?
Yes, that would be part of the setback.
Okay, so are we dealing with a wooden porch here or a concrete?
Honest, I believe it's concrete, right?
It's concrete with columns with a roof coming out.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think that building's been vacant a long time. I know we've seen people try to do different things, and I think this is kind of minimal density for there. There's a lot of big apartment complexes around there. There's a lot of student housing much further than that, and I think this, of course, it can be student housing. Anything can be, but it seems to fit the townhome and looks pretty good. I will make a motion to approve PL 2021000451, the 5-foot setback as presented, with the plans and the dimensions, and that White Street be entrance only and Drake be exit only.
Second.
Drew Goodner,
Yes.
Frost Rollins, Amy Sorrells,
Yes.
Kim White, Letitia Leaf.
Yes.
All right. We are adjourned.